today I'm going to show you how to make chocolate lava cakes, and this is going to be your first lab in cake decorating, so it's going to be a little bit of a review. So just a reminder, when you come in and get ready for lab, you need to make sure you clean your tabletop, wash your hands, which I have already done, and then you are going to get started. So this is anticipated to be a one-day lab. Now, your teacher might modify depending on their schedule, so I'm going to show you how to make it from start to finish. Again, you can modify for class. One thing we are changing a little bit in cake decorating is we're going to be measuring a lot of things with a scale, so I'll also remind you of how to do that. All right, so let's get started. So a chocolate lava cake is cake on the outside, and then the center is very runny, like a chocolate syrup, and when you open it, it kind of explodes out like a volcano. So this is very yummy, and it really goes over, avoiding cross-contamination, and then also just measuring and how the ingredients work together. Okay, so let's get started. So I've already done my mise en place, so let's just remind you how to use the scale. So this is your scale. Your recipes are gonna have you weigh in ounces and in grams. So you just go ahead and turn on your scale, and you wanna make sure that you have the unit correctly. So the first ingredient we are going to measure is chocolate, and it's in ounces. So you wanna make sure it has the OZ. You can kinda just press the unit, and then it will change it to grams, milliliters, etc. Most of our recipes are gonna be in ounces and in grams, okay? So then you're gonna put some measuring contraption on there, and then you're gonna tare it so it zeroes it out. So tare means zero, if you recall. And then the first ingredient is chocolate chips, and you need 2 ounces of chocolate chips. All right, so I'm just one short, so I'm gonna get my 1 extra chocolate chip, but you get the idea, all right? So to do that, I'm going to melt this, okay? We're gonna start off by melting our chocolate chips on our induction burner, and you wanna start off low. So you don't wanna preheat this. So I'm gonna put my 2 ounces of chocolate chips inside, and then the recipe calls for 1 ounce of butter. So this is essentially, I know you're used to measuring in like tablespoons and whatnot. It's essentially almost 2 tablespoons, but again, we want you to start really getting the hang of weighing everything just for consistency. So if you do end up mise en placing like me, make sure you are always throwing your garbage away as you go. All right, and one partner will start melting this. So you can kind of see that even at very low of a 2, it is already starting to melt, okay? So this is gonna be setting up our base, all right? So you're just gonna keep melting that. As that melts, I'm just going to go like that. I am going to, it says in your recipe to preheat your oven. Your teacher will turn the ovens on for you, and you're gonna be preheating it to 425. And the reason why we do it for you is just because it is, we have one big oven, all right? The next thing you're going to do is we are going to be making these in little ramekins. So I'm using disposable for the purpose of the demo. Your teacher may have you use other little ramekins or custard cups. These are the non-disposable ones, does the same thing. These are just easier for you to go. So it kind of just depends, but you want a little ramekin, or another term is custard cup. And we are just going to prep our little baking pans with a little spray. You could also use shortening, butter. You just need something to make it stick or prevent it from sticking. And then I am just going to put these on my baking pan so they are ready to go. All right. And then I'm going to go back over here, and I'm just going to check my butter's already melting, so you can kind of see it's all melting together. So you don't want it to burn, and that butter will make it nice and smooth, almost like if you've heard the term ganache. All right, so we are completely melted, so I'm gonna turn off my heat, and I'm going to take it off. If you leave it on here, it's gonna keep cooking, and it will burn, and you do not want that to happen. So we're just going to set it off your tabletop, and kind of just mix it around, clean the sides, and let that cool, okay? So separately in a bowl, I am going to whisk together, your recipe calls for 1 whole egg and an egg yolk, okay? So you can, because you are working with egg, this is potentially hazardous because of the yolk and the white. You can wear gloves. We are going to be baking this, so you don't have to wear gloves because we're not like, it's not a ready to eat food. But you can, and I want to just make preface it of that because this is our safety and sanitation review, okay? So I am going to crack my first egg. The first egg, we are going to use the entire egg. So if you recall, the yellow is the yolk and the white is obviously the other part. The yolk has the fat, the white is more of a binder. So when you use a whole egg, you're really just binding it together. One of the big things that we do not want you to do is just put this potentially hazardous product on your tabletop. So you either need to make sure you have a garbage bowl or you throw, oops, do not do that. You're gonna throw it away in the garbage can, okay? The next thing we're gonna do is you need to have your yolk, okay? So the yolk, like I said, is just the white part. I am going to separate my egg to get my yolk with my shell. I like doing it better that way. Your teacher may put out the egg separators. I just think that the shell is much sharper and it's easier to break into the white rather than using the egg separator, but you do whatever works for you, okay? Some people will use their hand. I just like using the shell. Okay, so this is the yolk. So this is gonna add fat and it's gonna help with that oozy goozy when our chocolate bakes. Okay, so the rest of this I'm going to throw in the garbage can. Okay, and I'm just gonna wipe off my hands. And then now we are going to whisk together our yolk and our white, just like so. All right. And then into this, we are going to add in our granulated sugar. You're using a very small amount of sugar because we have our butter and our chocolate and there's some sweetness and sugar in there. And you only need 12.5 grams. So again, when you're measuring this, you're gonna switch the unit to G rather than it was in the ounce. So we're gonna whisk this together, and it says to whisk it together just until it's slightly thickened. You just want to make sure it's really well incorporated and that sugar has dissolved into the yolk and to the full egg. Okay, just like so, and it's gonna look just like this, all incorporated, and we are good to go. All right. The next thing we are going to do is we are going to add in our chocolate. All right. Now, when you add in, I'm just gonna set this right here. When you add, notice I set it on a glove. So have a paper towel, something there so it's not touching directly on the tabletop, okay? Keeping your work surface very clean. Okay, this is cold, this is warm. I cooled it a little bit, but we need to what's called temper. So tempering means that this warm part, we are going to gradually incorporate that chocolate. So I just added a little bit so it starts getting it warm. If you add it all at once, it could potentially scramble your egg, and you do not want to do that. So I added a little, so I'm bringing the temperature of this up slowly. Now it sets the tone that I could add the rest of my chocolate. Okay. And again, this is only gonna make a yield of 2, all right? It's not gonna make a ton. It's just something fun for you and your partner to do to get back incorporated with the lab. And who doesn't like chocolate cake, right? So now I can mix this together, okay? So the egg is gonna help bind, add extra fat for flavor, helping with that ooey gooey. Sugar adds flavor, it's gonna help thicken it and help it get nice and crispy on the edge. And then the last ingredient we're gonna add is flour and salt. So see how little of flour this is? It's the smallest amount of flour. If you recall, flour provides structure. This only needs a little structure because we only want structure on the outside, not the inside, because we want it to ooze. And then salt is just a balancer of flavor. So it's just gonna kind of balance out all those sweet ingredients. So we need 1 teaspoon of flour. We didn't have you weigh that just because it's such a small amount. And then you just need a little pinch of salt, okay? All right, and then we're just gonna mix that together until it's all nice and clean on the side. You don't wanna see any white streaks. All right, no clumps, nice and smooth. And then we are good to go. All right. So you are gonna divide this amongst your ramekins or your little custard cups, depending on how many people are in your group. So this is essentially going to make 2, but if you have 3 people in your group, you can make it into 3. It will just be a little bit smaller. Okay, so now I'm just going to switch this over here. Okay, portioning, it's really important. And when you start making cakes in this class, you need to really portion and make sure that your layers are equal. So we want to make sure that they're all, you can start with a portion scoop, which is what you learned in your pastry chef class, just to start with making sure that it's all nice and equal. Or you can, your teacher might have you weigh it, okay? So for this, I would just use the yellow portion scoop. So I'm gonna start off, it's a very small amount, okay? I'm just gonna pour it, and it's a very runny dough, okay? Just like so, into your grease pans. I'm just gonna make 2, so I'm just gonna go through, make sure. Do not just pour it in. Sometimes we have students that just start pouring it in. They're like, it's fine, it's fine. It's like, nope, baking is a science, and we want you to be precise, okay? So sometimes your recipe will say put 2 ounces of the batter in each one. We'll have a lot of practice with that. All right, there we go. All right, so you can see here, just like so. And then you are going to label. So you'll probably put 1 sheet pan in the oven per table. So this will be, if you're group 1, this is group 2, whatever. Just listen to your teacher's directions, and I'll show you what this looks like when it's done. It is going to take about 10 minutes in the oven at 425. We're gonna eat them and plate them warm, so I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so the lava cakes are done. You can kind of see the outside is baked, and that still looks kind of, you know, it's not raw. I promise you it's not raw. It's very good. It is fine. So you're going to take a paring knife or some type of knife or something to separate the sides, and then you're gonna garnish the plate. So this is just a disposable plate, but I fanned out a strawberry. I have some chocolate syrup, whipped cream, whatever your teacher puts up for you. And then here's the moment of truth. You're gonna flip it over just like so. There, look how beautiful. And then let's, you can do dusting. I'm not gonna put chocolate because I want you to kind of see, hopefully it does. It's kind of did it. I let it kind of, but you can kind of see the chocolate. It should ooze more, but be better than me, okay? So enjoy.